All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for showing your faces too. You're totally welcome to come off your camera if you need to, but it's really nice to see all your faces. I'll just start with a brief introduction so we don't take up too much of your time today. I want to get through as efficiently as we can. So my name is Kim, as a lot of you know, and this is really going to be, I think, a jam-packed class for us today. I've been doing health coaching for the last few years, and I come from a movement background in dance and Pilates and yoga. So I've always been really connected to the body. And I've personally gone through a really big health journey. When I was a teenager, I went through ulcerative colitis, which is a pretty severe gut disease. I had my colon removed when I was 22 years old. So it's been a pretty big journey of exploring through the medical field and then going into more holistic healing and figuring out how they both can play into my life. And so with everything I've learned through the years, there's no doubt in my mind that this is what I'm supposed to do, is help other people find their way through health and find a balanced way to take care of themselves. And most importantly, to know that you have agency and choice in how you can approach your health, and there's not a one size fits all. And so this is why I love coaching, because I can really get to know people and find out what really helps them thrive in their health. So that's what I'm about in a nutshell. And I've got Marianne here with me. Marianne, do you want to say hi real quick? That's her.
Yes, I would love to say hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Marianne. I'm over in Southern California, if anybody's on this side of the world. And I'm here today to help Kim. I just went through her first, this was your first round, Kim?
Of this program, yeah.
Of this program, Holistic Health Solutions. And I loved it. So I'm just here to help her today and bring some happiness and energy to you wonderful, wonderful humans that are here with us. So that's what I'm doing today.
Awesome. Thank you. We got a message from Sarah that your volume, they couldn't hear you very well, Marianne, but you probably won't be speaking again until towards the end. So just so you know, your volume might be a little bit low. Thanks for that, guys. Yeah, fun fact, Marianne and I have the same birthday. Her mom was my math teacher in 8th grade. Kelly on the call knows, so it's kind of a funny how our paths can cross later in life. Okay, let's get started into the class. I want to share my screen for you guys to see all the goods. Okay. And if you're not muted, if you could just mute yourself, it will just help us with any distractions we might have through sound and all that. And as we go along, if anybody has questions or thoughts, please put them in the chat box. That's what Marianne's helping me with today, so that I can run the class and she can respond to any questions that might come up. So please feel free to chime in, to share in the chat as much as you would like. Okay, so welcome. This is Boost Your Energy and Dissolve Stress, something that us modern humans can really tap into and improve on. So this is a masterclass for high performers, people who tend to be overachievers, and people who really are looking for these self-development tools to make their life just feel more easeful and to handle all the stresses that we encounter in today's world. So an overview of what you'll learn in this class. First is how to boost your energy long-term. So we're looking at the foundational ways that you elevate your energy. We're looking at how to be more productive but less busy. This one is huge. Dissolving stress instead of managing it. Totally different perspective and approach. And this relates to being calm in a hectic environment. And lastly, creating habits that last. So this is a lot of content to pull into this class. So I am going to go pretty swiftly. If I ever go too fast, please, check in with Marianne or go into the chat box and let me know. If I need to, restate something or answer a question, I'm happy to. But I will go pretty quickly. And this is also being recorded, so you can always go back and take a look if you need to. Okay, let's start by acknowledging that our life is full of distractions, right? We're being pulled in 10,000 directions, And we have responsibilities, right? With our career, with our partners, with our family, relationships, community. We have passions and interests. And with all of that, we also have abundant choice these days. Our phone is always dinging. There's always a new app for something. Our attention is being pulled in so many directions that it's really creating a scattered body and scattered mind. In addition, sadly, we are hyper aware of the world's pain right now, and we know this all too well currently. And our bodies were never designed to handle all of this. One person's nervous system cannot process the daily tragedies happening all around the world. Every day it's something new. And, our bodies were really designed just to know what was happening in our own community. And it's great that we want to be aware and spread awareness about important tragedies happening in the world. However, if we're just passing on the information, then we all feel horrible about it and we don't really do anything about it because we can't. It just produces more anxiety, more heartache, more sorrows, and not really making a difference in the situation. So this is also taxing our system. It's just this overall, dealing with the tragedies of the world. So how do we navigate this? Well, it comes back to ourselves, making self-care your job, because it is your job. And if there is a cause that you really care about and you want to feel like you're making a difference, then specialize in one and take time to nurture one cause or something that means something special to you that you can actually learn about, invest in, and make an impact on. So now let's come to more on your personal life, right? So just as we would prune a tree so that it can have enough, so that the energy can go towards the root system of the tree to keep the tree healthier, is the same with us. And I love sharing this, that if you haven't heard, the root meaning of the word decide means to cut off everything except what matters. And I love this definition because it feels different than choice, where choice feels like lots of options, whereas decide is to cut off everything except what matters. So it's getting down to our core values. And when you prune your life, it requires you to remove anything that doesn't align with your values, your needs, and your desires. So you have that space, you have the resources for what does align for you. And note that this is the opposite of our society. What culture tells us is more is better. We are in a society of overconsumption, right? So it's actually really difficult to say no and to keep our lives simple and to remove what doesn't serve, even if it's something that we like, but it may not really align with who we are. So that's the first step, pruning our life. And when we do this, I love this phrase, simplify to amplify. If you know Marie Forleo, it's from her. And this brings us into focused energy. And focused energy brings nourishment to your values, what really matters to you. And that way, your chosen life will grow at an accelerated speed and amplified in color. It will have more vibrancy. Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. And it's so true. Okay, so let's look at energy. So if we're being pulled in many directions, our energy is really dispersed, right? Versus focused. And it really is a choice. And we can practice this in really, really simple ways. Like instead of first thing in the morning looking at our phone, right? We can say, nope, every time I wake up in the morning, I have a glass of water or whatever it is. And so you find those little ways to train your mind to focus. Otherwise, you're training your mind to be scattered and to not focus. And that's, again, the cultural default currently. So we want to practice what we want to experience. We want focused energy to feel lighter, to feel more aligned. And so we try our best to practice it in tiny ways. And when we practice it in small ways, it gives our mind and our brain that evidence that that's how we live our life. So let's dive into this dispersed energy. You want to identify where energy is leaking. And sometimes this is really sneaky, sometimes it's really obvious. So dispersed energy can result from ongoing heavy life circumstances or tiny distractions that seem like nothing at the time, but they add up to hours of wasted time. So the first two I have listed there, overwhelm would be one of those heavier life circumstances. Maybe there's a situation that's really intense at your job or a living situation that's difficult. So you have this emotional chaos always running in the background of your life, and that will show up as fatigue or stress or inflammation or physical ailments. And then similar to that is misaligned people, places, or activities. This can be toxic in a very small way or in a very big way. So if you're around people that just aren't for you, we all know that feeling. It's really going to take energy from us. So here are some less obvious ways that leak our energy quite significantly. Context switching. So this is, I'm multitasking, right? But that's not even possible. The brain can't even do that. So when you think you're doing a few things at once, you're just doing them quickly right after each other, but not as quickly as you could if you just did one thing at a time. So it wastes a lot of energy, and science shows that it takes our brain sometimes 10 to 20 minutes to come back into the zone of focus after you've been switching from one task to the next. So this could be like you're on your computer and you're finishing a project, you're giving yourself like an hour to do it, and then notifications come up for emails. You're like, oh, I wonder what that email says. And even if you don't even open the email, your brain has been diverted, right? So that's an example of context switching, which takes up a lot of energy for the brain. Next is multisensory stimulation. So this is not being mindful. This might be something like you have a lunch break and you go out with your workmates and you go into like a really loud restaurant and you're feeling tired that day and the stimulation's a lot. And then there's people talking to you, then your phone's going off and then you're trying to order your food and you're just like totally not focused, right? And this is not mindfulness. This takes a lot of energy. And then finally, we have distraction and procrastination. So distraction can be all sorts of things like we talked about, notifications on your phone, people interrupting you, whatever it is. Procrastination, both of these, you're seeking some kind of comfort or a numbing to avoid an uncomfortable feeling most times. Most of us aren't very good at just being with ourselves and just sitting there, and I don't even mean meditating, but just taking a moment to just breathe and exist, right? We always feel like we have to plan the next thing and do the next thing. And yes, that's part of life. However, sometimes we do it simply to avoid being with ourselves, right? Because there's always feelings that are coming up that need to be addressed. So to ignore them, we can plan, we can futurize, we can analyze the situation, we can live in the past about something that happened. Or there's a perfectionism problem. I'm totally guilty of this, where you want everything to be perfect, so you just like never start. So, there's lots of ways that we can avoid being in the moment, and this does also leak our energy. Okay, so when we get rid of those distractions and we start practicing focused energy, we have more time. And this can be a strange concept because this illusion that we don't have enough time, people are really attached to that because it feels that way, right? It feels like we don't have enough time in the day at times to do everything that we want to do or live the way we want to live or have time freedom or whatever it is. But the truth is we all have the same number of hours in the day. It's just, how are we spending them? What are we prioritizing? So rather than managing your time, you want to think about managing your energy, because dispersed energy is the culprit of why we think we run out of time for what matters to us. So this is a big one. And this was a big mindset shift that I had to go through that I still, have to deal with at times. Like, all right, it's not the time, it's how I'm spending it. It's where my energy goes. Okay, so let's talk about some ways that you can elevate your energy for the long term, right? And I'm not talking about like supplements and nutrition, all that's really important too and has its place. But if these fundamentals aren't there, and I'm talking specifically about the first 3 on this list, then all the other stuff you do is not going to be as effective. So when it comes down to it, you need to become a self-care ninja. So we want to make self-care our job and rewire this narrative that self-care is selfish, because it's absolutely not. And it's what the world needs. And it's what our families need and our colleagues need. It's what we need. So in order to do that, number 1, clarify your values. If you're not clear on your values, none of this other stuff will matter. You can be eating all the great foods and doing all the things, but you don't really know why you're spending your time on certain things. So clarifying your values means just simply writing them down. And you want to have maybe 3 or 4 top values, right? And this can be, well, I'll give you a prompt later for this. I'll go on from now. So the next thing is you decide, remember, you cut off what is causing dispersed energy. That's going to be easy to see once you've clarified your values, because you're like, oh, well, yeah, scrolling on social media doesn't really align with my values. So I can actually cut that out or limit it in some way. And then 3, of course, we need to prioritize sleep, water intake, and joy. Joy meaning being present with yourself and spending time doing things you enjoy and that make you happy or make you feel peaceful or just simply make you feel like yourself. And we're all going to have, that's going to look different for everybody. Now, the next on the list, all the rest are really, really helpful and important, but I personally feel those first 3 aren't in place. The others will not be as effective. So next is we want to focus on nourishment with our food intake and not depriving ourselves, right? This is going to help our metabolism. This is going to help our hormone balance. We need to be nourishing our bodies with nutrient-dense food. Next is activating the rest and digest part of your nervous system, which I'll talk about later, morning and night, even if it's just for 1 minute. And that leads to morning and bedtime routines. Again, can be super simple, but you've got something in place that lets your body know, hey, time to wind down, or hey, time to start the day. Then you have non-sleep, deep rest. There's a lot of science on this. It's really interesting. This or some sort of breath practice. This is a really amazing way to reset your nervous system and to receive a lot of rest that you couldn't get with, like you can do a lot faster than getting it with sleep. So if you just did 5 minutes of this type of deep rest while awake, it can be equivalent to an hour or 2 of sleep. So it's really, really effective and doesn't take a lot of time. And then lastly, using some productivity hacks. There's so many, but I'll share just a couple here today to do less and amplify your outcomes. All right, I hope everyone is following along fine here. I know I'm going a little bit quick. So values, this is probably the most important slide of the whole presentation. Because like I said, if you're not clear on your values, then you're not clear on how you want and need to spend your time. So when you know your values, then you are clear on how to prioritize things in your life. And therefore, you're behaving in that way. You're taking action that reflects your priorities. And when you align your values with your actions, that's the difference between reacting to life as the victim, like things just happening to you, versus taking ownership of your life as a sovereign being. So being in touch with your values, so simple, but so important. Okay, so if you have something to write with right now, I'm going to invite you to just jot down a little bit of some thoughts on your values. So your values, like I said, they're your compass. And if you're watching the replay, you can pause this and spend more time, and you can also come back to this, of course, for you guys who are live right now. But what I'd like you to really focus on is first that second question, what are your top 3 values? And you can just jot them down, one word, it could be health, freedom, family, self-expression, like what at your core is most important to you. Right. So if you If you have something to write with, I encourage you to write that down. And obviously, we all have so many things we love and care about. And you can write a big long list if that helps you kind of get it out of your body. And then you can look back at it and notice that a lot of them are sort of the same thing, right? So you want to come down to the core words, your core values. I'll just be quiet for a little bit if you need a little bit of time to write that. Yeah, and Marianne had written in the chat box that joy is something that she needed to find again, and remembering that food is nourishment and none of it is bad. That's something that, yeah, her and I worked on a lot in the program together. And I'll tell you a little bit about the program at the end if anyone is interested. Okay, so you know your values. Now I want you to write down where you spend most of your time. I'm just going to give you like 10 seconds to write this down because there's probably not that many places, right? So is it in your home office? Is it in your backyard, your bedroom? Is it at your workplace? Like, where do you spend the most of your time? Just write down like 1, 2, or 3 places. Where are you located? Okay, and then you're going to write down, what do you spend a lot of time doing? And you might need more time for this, but just what comes to your mind first? What do you spend the most time doing? Working, being with your partner, being with your kids? What are you mostly doing? On your phone, on electronics? And be honest with yourself. Even if you don't like it, just write down what you spend a lot of time doing. Yeah, Katie says what she's doing now versus not lockdown is very different. Yeah, and you can just do it like a lockdown version, write down what you're doing. I would do the current moment, and then you can do this again later, for when you're back working out in the world again. So the last question essentially is, what are you doing that aligns with your values, and what are you doing that doesn't align? Right? If you're like, oh, I'm on Netflix like a lot, that doesn't really align with my values, but maybe it does. So just be objective. What are you doing that aligns with your values, and what are you doing that doesn't? And these might be big things or little things. We're all at different phases and stages in our lives. So you might just circle the ones that align with your values and put like an X on the ones that don't align or something like that. Okay, I'm going to go on, but you can always come back to this. So this is going to take us into the concept of productivity. So when you get clear on your values and how you're spending your time, and you decide, okay, I'm going to stop doing this other thing so I can spend more time on this other thing that's more aligned with my values and who I am as a person, then naturally your energy is more focused and you are organically more productive. And there's this idea that productivity is about doing a lot, but actually productivity is about doing less. When you prune back your life, your focus energy is channeled into your priorities. So this will amplify your efficiency, which I would define as productivity. It's more like efficiency, not doing a lot. It will amplify the results because you're focused on the one thing, and it will amplify your wellness. So this is an invitation for you to really embody this idea of less. Less is more. Okay, on that note, I'm going to share one hack here. It's got a few steps to it, but it's one over hack is this to-do list thing, right? So if you've got items on your to-do list that like stay there for days and weeks or maybe years, you know, you're like, why is that still on there? Why won't do it? You know, you need to just get rid of it. It doesn't help. So it just makes us feel bad, right? Oh, I didn't do that thing. And it just emphasizes this thing of like not achieving. So here's a hack to not only make you feel less overwhelmed, but to also make your days more productive. And remember, being productive means you're more efficient. You're just doing what's required. So you take your to-do list and you put each item into 3 categories. One is delete. If it's been on there for over a month, maybe you need to delete it, right? Oh, phone going off. So it might just need to go. Second, delegate. Is there some way you can get support? Is there someone that can help you do this task? Or is there someone that can help you do another task like laundry or something, so you have time for this item, this task on your list, right? So that's another category. And last one is deferring. So deferring is really just booking it in, putting it in your calendar instead of just like hanging out on your to-do list and kind of shows up every day. So you have a plan so that you really don't want to have more than 3 items on your to-do list for one day. I mean, I would say generally it's different for everybody, but that's probably a good rule of thumb. And then once whatever you have left over, they're like, yes, this is urgent, it needs to get done today. Okay, cool. So make that into a checklist, which is more like a how-to list of baby steps. So I'll use like a big example first. So say you're like, I want to write that book, you know, like, oh my God, I've been wanting to write this book for so long and I never do it because my life is too busy. And I'm just like looking at this goal for myself over and over, but nothing happens. So you create a how-to list and you say, okay, I'm going to write the first page of chapter 1 on Tuesday in my bedroom or something. So you get really specific. You say where you do it, how you do it. So it's a how-to step. It's not the end result or the end outcome. It's too overwhelming sometimes to look at the end outcome. Take a more everyday task like doing the laundry. You might be like, you know what, today I'm going to move that laundry from the bedroom to the washer room. And that's it. That's the only baby step I'm doing for today. Tomorrow, the next thing is to put it in the wash. I mean, I'm really breaking it down, but theoretically, like that's a really good way to go, is to break things down into baby steps. So that's a hack for you to help you manage the day-to-day stuff that might feel like it's just too much.
Kim, could you go over delegate, defer, and delete one more time?
Yes. So delegate is to delete it off your list. You might find that you just haven't done it. Is it actually, do you want to do it for real? Or is it something that you think you should do? Is it something that doesn't currently align with your values anymore? Right? Get real with like, why hasn't it gotten done after a long period of time? That's delete. And then delegate is delegate work to someone else. Find support, whether that's with that particular task or with something else that frees up your time. And then defer is to schedule it in the future in your calendar at a certain time, so it's no longer on your to-do list. Does that answer the question? Perfect. Okay, so we're getting into self-care as our home base. Self-care is everything. So what if self-care was part of your job description? How would you go about your day? How would you approach your day? What would be your attitude if the way you did things, the way you showed up for your colleagues or your kids were also about caring for yourself, not just give to others, but give to yourself as you give to others? What does that look like? So if you approach self-care as your home base, your positive lifestyle changes will happen more naturally. But if you view self-care as a to-do list item, it feels like a chore lots of the time, and it will only be valid when you're like in the mood for it or you remember to do it. So we want to redefine self-care and make it really a part of our day-to-day life. But how can we do that so it doesn't feel overwhelming? We simplify it. How do we create resilient self-care habits so that we are supported during challenging times and capable of supporting others authentically? How many of you have been like, oh, I just like give, and I help this person so much and I don't give to myself, and you feel resentful? That's not authentically supporting, right? That's giving with an expectation of receiving, or giving and not taking care of yourself. When you take care of yourself first, you can show up for people with authenticity, with your full self. So you want to know your personal definition of self-care by identifying your dispersed energy, getting clear. What are you doing that's scattering your energy, right? What are those little things? Is it like, is it you're cooking dinner and you're looking at your phone at the same time? Just try to be aware of the little ways that your energy is getting scattered. And then you take baby steps to prune these away. You don't have to do it all at once. That's not really great for the nervous system, actually. You want to go slow. So you want to take one thing away. Like, you know what? No longer am I going to look at my phone when I'm cooking dinner. Or I'm going to stop looking at my phone at this time of night, or whatever it is. Then you want to add in a specific, simple, and achievable action that easily integrates into your daily life. And I want you to start thinking about this for yourself. Maybe share it in the chat, because that'd be really good for you guys to see what you're all thinking about, and inspire and support each other. So please share, what is one thing, one simple practice that you can start implementing tomorrow? And I'll give you examples to kind of get things moving in your head, but it could be every time I sit down to work, I'm going to drink a glass of water. I'm going to have a glass of water with me. I'm going to finish this glass of water throughout my morning. Like, that's my new thing that I want to do for myself. It's simple. It's specific. Yes, I can do it. It's achievable. Every lunch break, I'm going to take a 10-minute walk and get fresh air. Non-negotiable. Even if I'm on the phone or taking a phone meeting, work meeting, I'm out taking that walk. I'm going to take the stairs. I'm going to park further away. Like, you just pick something that you feel really helps you. You can be something about your morning routine. When I wake up in the morning, I take 5 minutes to sit and breathe. And that's all I do. I'm going to read what you guys have. Yeah, Marianne talked about SMART goals. That's an acronym for what I said about, specific, measurable, achievable. Can't think what the R stands for. Something relevant, and then time frame. But I just kind of put it as specific, simple, achievable. Stacy's is limit my news intake to once a day. This is so good. This reminds me of time blocking. I do this now and it helps me so much. I feel like a different person. So I basically decide I'm going to check my emails between 3 and 4 each day. I don't look at them before that. I don't have notifications go off on my phone. I mean, I work for myself, so I can do that, but anyway, you know what I'm saying? You pick something that you want to limit, like the news, and you say, I'm going to only look at the news once a day. And you can even say, Stacy, in your case, like, what time are you going to do that? Like, you want to get as specific as you can. Kelly says, I will only spend 15 minutes in my bed after I wake. Great. So to her, it seems like that seems reasonable. Yeah, 15 minutes to kind of lie there and wake up, like, that's totally doable. Yeah, other people are resonating with less news, me as well. Caitlin says having a 5-minute coffee tea break outside. I love how specific it is outside. Perfect. Katie says only snooze my alarm once. Yeah, that's good. Jillian says sit down with my boys during their dinner time without hopping up to do other things. Great. Narisa, my day starts well when I listen to a 10-minute morning meditation. Erica, do simple stretches when I get up for 5 minutes. These are all so awesome. Natasha, prioritize my 30-minute restorative yoga every second day. Beautiful. Yeah. And this is where our health is so individual. Like, for some people, meditation, yoga, first thing in the morning is imperative. For other people, it's having that talk with their children first thing. For other people, it's getting alone time outside. You know, some of us need to socialize, some of us need alone time. So honor what actually works for you. Caroline says deep rest once a day, 5 to 10 minutes, check in, breathe, meditation. Yeah, I'm going to talk about deep rest soon. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, keep sharing if other things come up, guys. These are wonderful. So we're going to save this list. And, you know, if I were your coach, I would hold you accountable to those. Okay, so let's get into the stress response. Stress. It's the modern day conundrum. So which is your default? So we've got two sides to our stress response. And our body cannot be in both at the same time. So the fight or flight response on the right, where you're in the sympathetic, you're stressed, you've got adrenaline going, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, your blood goes to your extremities, not your organs. You don't digest food during this time. There's a physiological response in the body during fight or flight. On the left, when you're in rest and digest, your body feels calm. It doesn't perceive any threats. It feels safe. That's the main thing. You feel safe. So your body is able to focus on digestion and your skin health and cellular maintenance and all the things that are so healthy for us. If you're eating an amazing plant-based, you know, nutrition-dense diet, but you're stressed all the time, that diet's not going to help you out so much. What's interesting about this stress response is that, like I said, we can only be in one at the same time. And we are designed to move in and out of these very, very efficiently. So let's take, for example, a dog. Like say you're walking your dog on the beach or something, and your dog is like, oh my God, what's that other dog? You know, and he like gets really alert, right? And he's perceiving a potential threat. He doesn't know if he should trust this dog. So what happens? He immediately, his ears perk up, his heart rate goes up, the hair stands up on his back. Like he has a physiological response. And then the moment that like that dog goes in the other direction, or maybe comes up and plays with him and he goes, oh, okay, this dog is not a threat. Quickly, your dog goes back into rest and digest. It's not like, oh my God, I'm still stressed about it. No, the dog just goes straight back into a calm state. So as modern humans, we have lost this ability because we live in a world that is so hyperstimulated. And so like we're perceiving things as life or death. Like we're getting emails that are making our body feel like our health, our life is at risk. Like that's what that part of our brain is so ancient. It hasn't caught up to how we live now. So it's having a very strong response and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. So there's adrenaline going, and then you get the next email, and then your boss is like this, and then your kids are doing this, and there's just like stress that your body is perceiving as life-threatening. So this makes you less efficient at dropping down into rest and digest, and keeps you in a more constant state of fight or flight. Therefore, your body is not able to take care of just functional maintenance. So let's talk about how we can change this, because we can. And you know, we hear this term managing stress. I really hate that term. And I want to call it dissolving stress, because this is what I feel. Managing stress implies that we're at the mercy of our external circumstances. And yes, of course, terrible, terrible things happen to people. We all acknowledge that. However, technically speaking, our body is able to self-regulate. And there are definitely situations where we stress more than we need to. And there are situations where we can control our inner state more than we know. So managing stress is like, oh my God, stress is just going to happen. We're at the mercy of life. It also implies that stress is always there, you know, which it kind of, people do believe that. And so they live that way. It implies that bad things happen to us. It puts us in a state of victimhood, and it keeps our bodies stagnant. So things aren't moving. And we need our cells to be taking in nutrition and releasing waste and moving for us to be healthy. Stagnancy leads to disease. Stagnancy leads to inflammation. So if we change our mindset and say, I'm going to dissolve my stress, right? And it's not just like a mantra to tell yourself, it's something you can physically do. But when we know that, when we emphasize that belief, we have agency over our internal state, no matter what's going on around us. We choose when to switch into a stress-free state, just like that dog can naturally do it. We're animals too, and we're supposed to do the same thing. We view challenges as a growth opportunity. We feel empowered, and there's movement in our body because we're letting the stress dissolve. And I'll talk more about how we can do that. Quickly, this slide is just to show you that this is backed up scientifically. These are researchers that talked about this, where you've got 3 Ps of pessimism, which is like, everything is messed up. There's nothing I can do. It's the story of my life. Whereas stress hardiness is more like, this is hard, but like, I'm going to get stronger because of this. And yes, this is a mindset thing, but more importantly, we want to address this at the level of the body. Because when your body will respond to stress quicker than your brain will register what's happened. Have you noticed that when something happens, like there's a feeling in your gut, in your heart, and then you're like thinking about what's going on or what you should do? So let's talk about the stress response in the body, so you really understand and you can actually learn how to dissolve stress in the moment. There's something called the gut-brain axis. I'm going to go through this a little bit quick because we're getting short on time. It's a communication system between your energy and between your brain, your nervous system, and your gut. So energy and emotional intuitions travel up and down what's called the vagus nerve. And that's a wandering nerve. It's the longest one in the body. It's incredible. And it's the primary component of the rest and digest. So it regulates our heart rate, our breathing, digestion, sex, detoxification, cellular maintenance. This is the heart of it. So what are ways that we can tone the vagus nerve? These are coming from the body. Talk therapy is awesome, but when you work from the body, you get there faster. And I'm going to say that diaphragmatic breathing on the top left is your best route. That's going to directly affect that vagus nerve and the responses going from your brain to your organs. So let's all do this together. Take a moment to be comfortable in your seat. We're going to do a short breath practice together. Feel your lower body connected to the surface supporting you, whether you're sitting in a chair, feel your feet on the floor possibly, but just feel your lower body grounded. And then let your head move back to line up with your tailbone. Notice your spine long. You might close your eyes. I want you to take a 4-count exhale. So you can just take a normal inhale, and then we'll exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath out. And then inhale here, 3, 2, 1. Again, you're going to exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause there at the bottom of the exhale. Inhale naturally when you need to. This time I want you to exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause at the bottom. Inhale when you need to. One more time. Exhale slow. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath out. And let your inhale be natural and easeful. Keep your eyes closed for a moment and just notice if there's been a shift, even though that was very short. The exhale is your gateway to the rest and digest system. You can't take a long exhale and stay in fight or flight. You can't take a long exhale and not tonify your vagus nerve. So this is the simplest, quickest way. You don't even have to close your eyes. If you're like talking, if you're like in a room with other people, you can just like exhale to yourself and be like, I'm calming myself down. I'm tapping into the body. Now that's, in the moment if things are going on, and there's much, much more that you can do. So I put on here processing emotions, because it's energy in motion, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness, frustration, doesn't matter what the emotion is. We don't judge them or label them as positive, negative. They're just energy. But when an emotion has a lot of charge, like maybe excitement or anger has a lot of charge behind it, and it's not been processed, let's say anger, let's say you're angry about something, and you haven't been able to process that anger, it's not going to feel good, and it's going to drain your body of energy. But if you allow yourself to process it, whether that's through exercise or a practice called emotional digestion, which I'd love to do now, but we're not going to have time. But that's something that I'll share in a video. That's an amazing way to let that energy transform, and then it actually supports your body. It supports the energy of your body because it's shifted into what it needs to shift into. So emotions are not bad, they're just energy, and they just need to be acknowledged. The more you ignore them, the more power they have over you, and the more stagnancy they produce in the body. Okay, many, many ways to process emotions: singing, sound, of course, all the movement practices. Tapping I put on here, that's been one of my go-to for emotional balance in the moment when something feels really difficult. Of course, we want to do our best to get restorative sleep, non-sleep deep rest, which is there on the right. That's something like a meditation or yoga nidra, or something where you're deeply resting, but you're awake. And of course, Mother Nature will always provide us with the grounding and the renewed energy. Essential oils come from nature. They're extremely helpful. And keeping a healthy gut microbiome is going to influence your nervous system. It's kind of crazy, but all the bacteria in your gut communicate with your brain. It's fascinating. Okay, we're getting towards the end here. So we're going to focus on new habits. So here's some hacks for you to create your new habits. You all have shared something that you're going to implement moving forward, which is amazing. So we want to implement slowly in small steps, but we do want to make change, because remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I think we've all been guilty of that. So one thing you can check into just to set yourself up for success. This isn't something you need to do right now, but I'll just lay it out for you now. You want to name the triggers that cause you to lose focus when doing a task. Is it being interrupted by people? Is it your notifications? Do you get hungry? Do you scroll your phone? Are you doing chores that are productive, but not what you said you do at that time? Right. So you want to get clear on what your triggers are that scatter your energy. Like we talked about the dispersed energy. Then you want to name the triggers that help you focus on the task at hand. Is it when your space is decluttered and you just feel relaxed and calm? Is it after an exercise? Is it during or after a morning routine? Is it every time that you do deep breathing, you can really focus? Is it eating well, right? So just think about what helps you, not what hinders you only, but also what helps you. And then you want to decide which of the triggers that helps you want to make your non-negotiable. And what you brought up before in the last exercise might be the one. It might be, being present with your kids at dinner more than you are now, or whatever it is. Make that your non-negotiable moving forward. And here's a more specific way of tagging onto that SMART goals that Marianne was referring to, is a really, really simple way to train new habits into your life. Remember, we want baby steps. The brain doesn't respond well to like a whole bunch of new change at once. It just doesn't like it. So you want to commit to that new baby step. that's specific, simple, and achievable, like I mentioned before. Here's what might help you stick to it. Schedule it immediately after something you already do every single day. So you'd write it in this form. Every time I do blah, 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 like every time I brush my teeth, it's time to do my breath exercise, right? So here's some examples. Every time I arrive at work at my desk, it's time to drink 1 glass of water. Every time I sit down to enjoy dinner, it's time to put my phone away for the rest of the night. Every time my bedtime alert goes off on my phone, it's time to journal for 10 minutes, right? Again, if anybody wants to share a refinement they might have for their goal, for their baby step, go ahead and share. Okay, and I don't want to leave us late, so I'm just going to segue right into share with you Holistic Health Solution. It's based off of a lot of the principles I just shared in this class. And really, this is a way to get even more clear on your specific goals. It's 12 weeks, 3 months, and it's really about helping you having more energy than you knew you could have, making your default that rest and digest, that calm and happy place, to know how to nourish your body, right? There's not like a formula, there's always a new trend, right? So it's not about trends, it's about finding the food and exercise that actually works for you and to feel confident and strong in your body. And this isn't about deprivation, it's not about working harder, it's about actually nourishing yourself. That's what I made this program for. Who is this for? It generally works well. And this first round that I've done, it's worked out well this way. Seasoned leaders who are crushing it in their field, but have neglected their health for too long. So they're ready for the next level of mental and physical wellness. It's also great for driven women and entrepreneurs who are seeking simple steps and sustainable practices to create amazing health for their unique needs and busy lifestyle. I specialize in working with women and women who just have a lot on their plate and women who would probably classify themselves as overachievers. I'm going to do this really quickly, but we've got 4 pillars: education, implementation, support, and accountability. And I'll tell you the most important is number 4. I've got 5 modules. The first module is all about your identity shift. This one is the most important and it blows your mind and you really kind of shift your whole belief system. Second is pruning your life. We get into that detail. We get into your food and body nourishment, your movement method, and finally your protocol for moving forward. We implement. So we have weekly calls and you do your weekly baby steps. And that's how we know you're making progress, is those baby steps. We don't talk about it. You know, everyone knows what they should do, but they don't do it, right? So it's about taking action. It's about implementation. Support. This is one of the most exciting parts of it, is that we have each other, and this is important. So for myself and the other people in the program, we support you through the process. Accountability. So our ancient brains, they want to stay in their comfort zone. They want to stay with what's familiar. They don't like change, but this is where accountability can totally hack that system. And this is a really crazy study that shows that people who have a goal and they maybe they plan it, or maybe they decide when they're going to do it, their likelihood of following through on that goal doesn't necessarily get that high. But at the bottom there, you see when having an accountability appointment you've committed to, your success goes up to 95%. So accountability is huge. So I'm opening up enrollment in mid-November. If this resonates with you and you'd like to learn more about it, you just book a call with me. I think Marianne might have the link and she can share in the chat. And in that call, I basically just ask you questions about your life. It ends up being a call where I'm listening, and there's a little bit of coaching, but I'm mostly just listening to what you have going on, what your challenges are, what your goals are. That way I can really know if I'm the right person to help you. And if so, then I'll invite you in and tell you about it. And of course, there's no strings attached. So no worries if it doesn't work out, because whether you join or not, I find that everyone I've talked to in this process, they always find there's so much clarity on their own goals during the call. And it's fun for me too. So don't feel bad if you're unsure. If you're curious, please go ahead and book a call. And I'm doing a special for you guys who are live here. If you book a call today, then I will send you a free essential oil. Many of you know that I love essential oils, and it will be something that's balanced with your own needs. So that's always fun to create something special for you. Okay, we did it. I actually finished before the hour. I can't believe it. Thank you for hanging in there. I know it was a lot of information, so it is recorded, so you can look back at it. And we've just got 4 minutes left. Woo! Are you guys okay? Does anyone have any burning questions either about the class or about holistic health solution coming up? Fire away, ready to answer if you want to share.
Kim, I'm looking for this link so I can put it in the chat for everybody.
I think I got it. Yeah, it's
cool. Yeah. I was like, the only one I can find was from July, and that sounds like it was so long ago, but
yeah, no, yeah, that'll be probably outdated.
Yeah.
Copy link. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna put it in the chat. So this is a link to book a call with me. There you go, it's in there. I can't wait to read what else you guys wrote in there. Thank you for sharing what you guys have been working on. Anyone have anything to share or ask?
Hey, Kim, it's me.
Hey.
I was just wondering, do you have like a certain timeline for the program?
Yes. So
a duration, I guess, is what I'm asking about.
Yes, it's 12 weeks. So basically 3 months, which I found is a good time frame. Just to give everyone time to try these new habits out. I'm going to start potentially November 15th. I was thinking the 8th, but I'm going to say the 15th right now. So we'll go over Christmas. So I will add an extra week because we'll kind of lose a week for the holiday time. So it'll end sometime in February. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but yeah, a 3-month program essentially. Yeah. Any other questions? And you guys can ask Marianne because she's just done it. Yes, how do we watch the presentation again? Yeah, so I will send you this recording. So then you can pause it, especially on the parts where you might want to write down some of the journal prompts and take screenshots or whatever. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and the replay will be in your inbox, and I would love to hear any feedback you have, and hopefully some of you, if you resonate, I'll see you on some calls. Bye.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you. Bye.